Python imports seem easy, but one wrong file name or folder structure can break your entire project. In this video, we will go through 16 real import mistakes developers make and fix each one step by step. We will start with the import errors every Python developer hits early, a wrong module name, and a package that simply is not installed in the current environment. This is a small typo, but it stops the whole script. We want the square root function, so I write an import that looks plausible, then call square rooter. Now we run it and look at the terminal. Let's break down why this failed. Python is looking for a module with the exact name maths, and that module is not part of the standard library. The real standard library module is math. Now we fix the import by using the real module name. The code still does the same job, but now Python can find math, so we run the script again and get the expected result. The best habit here is to verify exact module names before using them. Autocomplete and official docs save time because they prevent these tiny spelling mistakes from becoming runtime errors. Here, the script uses requests, which is not included with Python by default. The code is fine only if the package exists in this environment. Now we run it on a fresh setup and see what happens. Let's unpack the error. Python can find built-in modules like math immediately, but requests is a separate package. Until it is installed into this environment, import requests has nowhere to load from. Now we fix the environment, not the Python code. After installing requests in the active environment, the same script can import it and print the installed version. The best practice is to record dependencies instead of installing them from memory. Put packages like requests in requirements.txt or PyProject.toml, then install them in the environment that actually runs the app. Next, we look at a more confusing case. The package is installed somewhere, but Python still cannot import it because the script is running with a different interpreter. This script imports requests and also prints which Python executable is running. In real projects, this helps reveal environment confusion. We run the check after seeing that request exists somewhere on the machine. Let's explain the mismatch. The package listing came from one Python installation, but the script is running inside another environment. Each environment has its own installed packages, so requests can exist in one place and still be missing in another. Now we fix the active environment by installing through the same Python that runs the app. After that, the import works, and the script prints both the interpreter path and the requests version. The best practice is to tie pip to the interpreter explicitly. When you use python-m pip install, you install into the environment used by that Python command, which removes a lot of guesswork. Now we move to naming collisions. These bugs happen when a file in your project has the same name as something Python is supposed to import. Here we have a local project file named json.py. That name looks harmless, but it conflicts with the standard library module we actually want. Now we run the script and watch the import load the wrong module. Let's break down the failure. Python found the local json.py first. So the name JSON does not refer to the standard library module. The local file has no dumps function, so the call fails. Now we fix the collision by renaming the local helper file. The import name JSON is free again, so Python loads the real standard library module and the same dumps call works. The best practice is to avoid naming project files after standard library modules. Names like JSON helpas or data, JSON tullas are clearer and they do not block Python from importing the real JSON module. This script does not crash, which makes the bug easier to miss. We have a local file called requests.py, then we import requests and print where it came from. Now we run it and check the path. Let's look at why this is dangerous. The import did not fail, but it loaded the local project file. Any code expecting the real request package will behave incorrectly or fail later. Now we rename the local file to something specific to our project. After that, import request points to the installed package in site packages, which is what we wanted. The best practice is to give your own modules distinctive names and inspect module.file when imports feel wrong. If the path points into your project when you expected site package, you probably have a shadowing bug. In this section, we look at import problems caused by module structure. These bugs are common when files grow too quickly and responsibilities start crossing in both directions. In real projects, circular imports often happen when business logic and helper logic are mixed together. Here, user.py imports send a mail from notifications.py, but notifications.py also imports user from user.py. Now we run the script and Python fails before the program can even start. Let's break down why this happens. Python does not load every file completely before resolving imports. It starts user.py, jumps into notifications.py, and then notifications.py asks for user from a module that is still being built. Now we fix the dependency direction. User moves into models.py, notifications.py, no longer imports user.py, and user.py only calls the email function. Now we run it again, and the import chain is clean. The best practice here is to keep imports directional, especially between feature modules. When two files need the same object, extract that object into a small shared module. This keeps import order predictable and makes the design easier to test. In a production app, importing a utility module should not suddenly start a report job. Here, main.py only imports report by, but report by calls generate report at the top level. Now we run main.py and the report runs before the dashboard is ready. Let's look at the result. Nothing crashed, but the behavior is still wrong because importing the module did extra work. This is dangerous when the top-level code sends emails, opens files, or calls external services. Now we fix it by keeping the function importable but protecting the script behavior with a main guard. When main.by imports report by, Python defines generate report but does not call it. Now we run main.by and only the dashboard message appears. The best practice is to make modules cheap and predictable to import. Put reusable logic in functions and classes, then place command line behavior under the main guard. Use this whenever a file can be both imported and run directly. Now we move to name-related import bugs. These are smaller mistakes, but they can waste time because the module exists while the symbol you asked for does not. This happens when an API name changes or when casing is copied incorrectly. The file is called payments.py, but the class inside it is payment client. Now we import payment client with the wrong casing and run the script. Let's read the error carefully. It does not say that payments is missing. It says payment client cannot be imported, which points directly to a missing or misspelled symbol inside the module. Now we fix the import by using the exact exported class name. The object creation also uses payment client with the same capitalization. Now we run it and the client works. The best practice is to treat public API names as exact contracts. Check the module source, documentation, or autocomplete instead of guessing the name. This is especially important with class names because Python style usually uses capitalized class names. Here we have two helper modules that both define format date. The billing code needs an ISO style date, but main.py imports everything from both modules. Now we run it and get a valid-looking date in the wrong format. Let's notice what makes this bug tricky. There is no tracebag and no obvious failure. The wrong function replaced the right one in the local namespace, so the bug appears later as incorrect business output. Now we fix it with explicit imports and clear aliases. The invoice formatter and display formatter are separate names, so there is no silent overwrite. Now we run it and both outputs are intentional. The best practice is to avoid wildcard imports in normal application code. Use explicit names when you want a short local name, or import the module when the source should stay visible. This makes debugging much easier when names overlap. This final batch item is about running code inside packages. The way you start Python changes whether relative imports have package context. This happens a lot when a developer opens a nested file and runs it by path. The controller uses a relative import to reach the services package. Now we run the controller directly and Python cannot resolve the parent package. Let's unpack the error. The two dots mean go up from the current package, but a directly executed script has no known package. Python needs the module name, not just the file path, to understand where those dots point. Now we keep the code the same and fix how we run it. From the project root, we execute the module as app_controller with -m. Now Python knows the package context and the relative import works. The best practice is to run package modules from the project root with python-m package.module. Use direct file execution for simple standalone scripts, not for modules that rely on package imports. This keeps local runs closer to how the code behaves in a real application. Now we are moving into package layout and execution mistakes. These bugs usually appear when code works on one machine but fails in tests, tools, schedulers, or deployment. In real projects, this happens when a team creates folders that look like packages, but forgets the package marker files? Here the module exists, but our discovery check refuses to treat these folders as regular packages? Now we run it and the terminal shows the layout problem before the import succeeds. Let's break down why this fails. The file tax.py is present, but the package boundaries are implicit. That makes behavior depend on the Python version, the tool, and the way the project is launched. Now we fix the layout by making the package boundary explicit. The init.plt files can be empty. Their job is to say this folder is part of a regular package. Now we run the same import path again, and it prints the expected result. The best practice here is to use init.plt for regular application packages when you want predictable imports. It makes the layout clear for Python, test runners, type checkers, and new developers reading the project. Here's a common project shape. The real package is at the root, and a helper script lives in a scripts folder. This can work from the root, but if a scheduler starts inside scripts, the package is no longer visible. Now we run it from that wrong directory and Python cannot find Acme. Let's look at the real cause. Python starts import resolution from the script location and the active working directory. If your project root is not on that path, absolute imports for your own package fail. Now we fix it by making the runner part of the package and using one absolute import path. In practice, you would run this as a module from the project root or install the project in editable mode. Now the import is stable and the job finishes. The best practice is to stop treating folders as launch locations. Use package execution, absolute imports, or an installed project. So the import path is defined by the project, not by where the terminal happens to be. Next, we are looking at architecture-level import mistakes. These are dangerous because the first quick workaround often works locally, but creates unstable behavior as the project grows. Here the script tries to reach into the src folder by appending a relative path. It may work if we start from exactly the expected folder, but that assumption is fragile. Now we run it from a different location and the import fails. Let's unpack the failure. The string cirrus is not tied to the file location in a safe way. It is interpreted at runtime, so the same code can import successfully from one folder and crash from another. Now we fix the project instead of patching Python at runtime. The PyProject file tells packaging tools where the source package lives, and the script uses a normal absolute import. After an editable install, the same import works consistently. The best practice is to make the project importable once. Then keep application code clean. Use a proper package layout and editable install during development, instead of scattering syspy pack edits across scripts. Here we create a settings module with a small mutable counter. The bug comes from making the app folder importable directly, then importing the same file once as settings and once as app settings. Now we run it, and the terminal shows two separate module objects. Let's explain the strange output. Python stores loaded modules and sysmodules by name, not just by file path. So settings and app settings are two cache keys, and they each keep their own counter. Now we fix it by using only the package import path. Both references come from app settings, so they point to the same module object. When we run this version, the counter is shared. The best practice is to decide the canonical import path for every internal module and stick to it. In application code, prefer absolute package imports like app settings and avoid shortcuts that make the same file importable under another name. The last section in this batch focuses on runtime behavior. Imports are not just about correctness, they also affect startup time, cold starts, and command line responsiveness. Imagine this CLI has one command that needs a heavy dependency and another command that just checks status. The mistake is importing the heavy module at the top level before argument handling can choose a command. Now we run the lightweight status command and it still loads the slow dependency. Let's break down the timing problem. Python executes top-level imports before the if block runs. So even a command that only prints status pays the cost of the heavy dependency. Now we fix it by moving the expensive import into the command that actually needs it. The status path stays lightweight, and the analyze path still gets the dependency when required. Now the status command responds immediately. Now we also check the heavy path. This command is allowed to pay the import cost because it actually needs the slow dependency. The important part is that the delay is now limited to the feature that uses it. The best practice is to keep startup imports small and move optional expensive imports close to the code path that needs them. Use this for CLIs, web endpoints, background workers, and any place where cold start time matters. In this section, we look at import problems that usually appear only after deployment, upgrades, or environment changes. A very common production failure is caused by upgrading a library without checking its import paths. Here we simulate a new version of a package that exposes client from the top-level library module, while our application still uses the old library, old API path. Now we run the script and see the import fail before the client is even created. Let's break down why this happens. Python is doing exactly what we asked. It searches for library old API, but this simulated new package version does not contain that module anymore. The object still exists, but its import path changed, so startup fails immediately. Now we fix it by importing from the new path first, then falling back to the older path if needed. This keeps the application compatible during a migration window. When we run it now, the client initializes successfully from the new package layout. The best approach is to make dependency upgrades boring and controlled. Pin versions, read migration notes before changing them, and keep fragile third-party imports inside a small compatibility wrapper. That way, if an API moves again, you update one wrapper instead of hunting imports across the whole code base. For practice, flip the example around. Simulate an older package that only has library or old API clock client, then run the same fallback code. If it still prints a successful initialization message, your compatibility layer supports both versions. Now you know the most common Python import mistakes and how to avoid them in real projects. If this helped, like the video, subscribe to Dev Level Up, and comment what Python topic you want next.